Welcome back to Close Listening. I'm your host, Zach Morgenstern, joined as always by silent co-host Ludwig von B. And this is a YouTube show where I try to listen to some cool, historic, or whatever other reason I come across them albums and talk about them track by track. So today's selection is Fresh Cream, the debut album by Cream. Cream was not a band that was around for very long. I think it was about 3 years. And I've heard them described as the world's first supergroup. Now, I don't know if that's true, but the biggest name in the group was probably guitarist Eric Clapton, who counts as one of the great solo guitarists. Then Ginger Baker counts as one of the all-time great drummers. And then you also have bassist Jack Bruce. I assume he also counts as one of the all-time great bassists, but I believe he's the primary singer on this album, and so as someone who likes vocal-centered music, he's the real highlight for me. He has a nice, rich, deep voice with lots of personality to it. So let's get into the songs. The first song on the album is called I Feel Free. It has a great intro. There's a lot of emotion in Jack Bruce's voice, but it's a kind of controlled wailing, so it's sort of emotion, but it just sort of also sounds otherworldly and mysterious. And right off the bat, it subverts expectations. So I felt like Cream was too huge a band for me not to know. Eric Clapton was too huge a musician for me not to know. Pretty much all I know him for is the solo on While My Guitar Gently Weeps, and I think I've heard Layla a couple times, but that's really it. But I was kind of worried because I don't love blues music. You know, it's rooted in a very simple style of music, and the artists who've modernized it, all they do is just make the solos kind of longer. So I was kind of worried this would be a boring sound, but I think the element that Jack Bruce especially brings into Cream with just these very emotional singing, you know, even if you don't love the blues stuff, it just adds another dimension. So for I Feel Free, which is probably the best song on the album, the lyrics are actually by a guy named Pete Brown, though the music is by Jack Bruce. Here's an example of some of the lyrics. I can walk down the street, there's no one there, though the pavements are one huge crowd. I can drive down the road, my eyes don't see, though my mind wants to cry out loud. So the song defines freedom as being able to go into a sort of tunnel vision mode. You can move down the street inside your thoughts, free from day-to-day pressures. For me, that's the kind of feeling of freedom that I recognize, and it's not necessarily a good thing. It's obviously conceptualizing freedom as something selfish. And I would say that this song perhaps has that nuance in it because Jack Bruce's voice sounds kind of terrified. He sounds kind of terrified that he feels free. So does that mean anything, or is that just the natural timbre of Jack Bruce's voice? It's what makes it such an interesting song. The next song is called At NSU, and it's supposedly a joke at Eric Clapton's expense. It refers to an STD he had, but you don't have to be into the crude side of the song. It has a kind of folky, childish lyric, and it's accompanied by the band's aggressive, bluesy sound. So more of this good juxtaposition. You don't like the blues? Well, good. There's a folk element. There's a nice singing element. Driving in my car, smoking my cigar. The only time I'm happy is when I play my guitar. Singing in my yacht. What a lot I got. Happiness is something that just cannot be bought. See, it sounds kind of like an adult nursery rhyme. So the next song on the album, it has, you know, a really cute title. It's Sleepy Time Time. Now, it's a standard 12-bar blues sound, but it has a slightly unique harmony in the chorus. It's trying to be more than one musical thing at once. It's the first time you hear an extended Eric Clapton solo on the album. And again, it has strikingly simple lyrics, kind of like a nursery rhyme. Asleep in the daytime, asleep at night, life is all playtime, working ain't right. And then after Sleepy Time Time, you move into a song called Dreaming. So I thought of Roy Orbison's song In Dreams when I listened to this. And it's kind of like Roy Orbison meets Tim Burton because Jack Bruce's terrified voice adds an eerie sound to it that's built upon by some vocal harmonization. The actual lyrics, I mean, they're just a variation on the Everly Brothers' All I Want to Do Is Dream. Am I dreaming my life away? Nothing too deep, but there's a nice mysterious affect to it. The next song on the album is Sweet Wine. It has a memorable opening vocal that's just ba 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 da ba ba. The rest of the song The sound is kind of characterized by the lyric just matching up exactly to what Ginger Baker is playing on his drums, but then he switches the drums into something more complex, soft. So again, it's Cream showing off the sort of different styles of their musicians, that their songs can't easily be fit into a genre, even as it is only really the three musicians. And it's repeating this theme of dreaming of the easy life, a sort of easy, perhaps solipsistic version of freedom. Lyrics go, who wants the worry, the hurry of city life? Money, nothing funny, wasting the best of our life. The next song is full blues. It's called Spoonful, and it opens with a bluesy harmonica. It's by the blues icon Willie Dixon, who I first knew as Chuck Berry's bassist, but he's really so much more than that. The lyrics, again, kind of simple, kind of nursery rhyme-esque. Could fill a spoonful of diamonds, could fill a spoonful of gold. Just a little spoon of your precious love will satisfy my soul. I think this song is an interesting example where context sort of distorts what you hear. So even though you're supposed to be hearing spoonful, I kept hearing soulful, and I think it's just because it's emotive blues music. And while the song, again, pretty standard blues, there's just one tiny part where Clapton's guitar makes a decision that isn't quite blues. It's a blink and you miss it kind of thing. But again, they're trying to not have their songs be entirely predictable. They're trying to break the genre box a bit. Next, you have an instrumental song called Cat Squirrel, and that's just characterized by more blues harmonica. Next on the album, you have a Robert Johnson song. It's called 4 Until Late. It has a very jealous lyric, but if you're not paying attention to the lyric, it ends up having a kind of friendly sound. It reminds me of, the Paul McCartney Beatles. And the delivery kind of brings out the silliness of the lyrics. So it says, a woman is like a dress, something always running through its drawer. So obviously there's some sexism in that lyric, but the way it's saying the kitschiness comes out more than the problematic side of the lyric. So if you're someone who's very guilty when listening to music, worry not, delivery helps with this one. So the next song is called Rolling and Tumbling. The lyrics, again, are pretty minimal with this one. And I suppose you just let your mind have a fun time with that idea of rolling and tumbling around. We were rolling and tumbling right the whole night long. We were rolling and tumbling right the whole night long. When I woke up this morning, baby, all I had was gone. So I hear this and I think, what would it be like if I could do somersaults all night? And then I realize, oh, wait a minute. It's probably about sex. But then again, does it have to be? The words are so playful. Musically, the sound of this one I describe as controlled chaotic. So Ginger Baker is really bashing the drums on this one, and the harmonica is constantly bending notes aggressively, and the vocals scream a lot of hey-heys, but it's still a controlled rhythmic sound in the end, despite all the noise and all the different instrumental things going on. The next song on the album is called I'm So Glad, and Cream has sort of shown that what they're going to do, at least on this record, is have fairly repetitive lyrics. Really all this song is about is gladness. I thought this one tonally marked a return to the beginning of the album, using harmonies to sort of take the sound away from the blues, and it uses some folk riffs, but it contrasts those against Ginger Baker's big drums. And the final track on the album is an instrumental called Toad. This one had a sound that I'd call swamp rock. Now, when did this sound become swamp? Was Toad foundational to that label? Because, some music does get called swamp, or I guess get associated with the bayous or whatever. Probably not. I don't imagine one instrumental by a British band defined that aesthetic. But it has this thick yet still lively sound that comes shifting between playing chords versus playing single notes. The song ends with a really long drum solo from Ginger Baker. Now, maybe if you're a big drums person, you would get that appeal from the album. I'm not sure if drum virtuosity is something I really have an ear for, because it just really sounds like noise to me. In my comments on the Beatles' Please Please Me, I was saying how Ringo Starr might not be one of the most virtuosic drummer, but I like the little bits of sound you hear from him. It's not necessarily technically advanced, but he did what he needed to do, whereas Ginger Baker may be very technically advanced, but it doesn't necessarily add anything. But anyway, that was my experience with Fresh Cream. I might want to listen to some of the later albums. I have a hunch the lyrics might get a bit more interesting. I know they have a song called Tales of Brave Ulysses, so if you're referencing mythology, I have to assume you want to do something more ambitious with your lyrics. But anyway, it's what it is three talented musicians with a fairly sparse sound, but some very interesting vocals from Jack Bruce, and genre that's always dancing around but is never quite straight blues. Hope you enjoyed this review. Hope you continue to watch these videos. I'm Zach Morgenstern for Ludwig von B. See you next time.